Hey, what's up guys? MGH here. Welcome to my yearly career mode wishlist video. Now, every single year I upload this same video. I talk about the same things year after year. Only very few of the things that I speak about actually make it into the new career mode game. So I'm hoping it's going to change this year a little bit, or at least next year, because you could argue with it being, halfway through May, it's almost too late for these features that I'm going to be speaking about to be implemented in this year's game if they haven't already been. So EA, if you're watching this video, I say it every year. I've even sent you this wish list every single year. If you can't do all of this stuff this year, that's absolutely fine. But just save some of these ideas for later. You can work on it over the next 18 months before FIFA 20 comes out, which is crazy just thinking about it. But as we all know, and I'm sure a lot of you guys watching this video will agree with me, that this year could be make or break for career mode. It feels like slowly over the last few years, well, not just the last few years, but quite some time now, career mode has been neglected. They've added these features every now and again that keep us hooked for a couple of weeks, and then they kind of just fizz out. There's no excitement anymore. I'm hoping that with the Champions League license and the Europa League license, that's going to breathe some fresh feeling into this game mode, but that won't be enough. We need an overhaul of features, just new things to do. So I'm really hoping that some of the things I talk about are seriously considered. Hopefully some of them have already been worked on for FIFA 19, but of course hopefully some of these ideas will make it into a future FIFA title. And just saying as well, they've removed a lot of stuff over the last 10-15 years in FIFA. There are some features in this wish list which were already in career mode. They've just been removed. So all I'm asking is you put it back in. Okay, let's dive into the first thing. So what I will do in this video is break it down into categories. The first one we're going to talk about is training mode. A feature that was added quite recently, and I love it. I think training mode was a great addition, but some could say it ruins career mode a little bit. It makes your players too good too quickly. So just generally, before I talk about these points, I hope that they adjust it slightly so it's a bit more realistic. And it doesn't turn your young players into world beaters by the age of 21. So the first point I want to make is the ability to train a player to play in new positions. So for example, centre back to CDM, right wing to left wing, cam to striker. There is already a system like this in Ultimate Team. Of course, you apply cards, position changes. I'm not asking for that in career mode, but the ability to physically train a player, let's say over 8 weeks, to train from a right back to a right mid. I've talked about this so many times, it's still not in the game. I mean, if you think about real world football, every team has injuries, suspensions, whatever it may be, and players play out of position, and sometimes they realise that actually they're better in this position. And players change position all the time throughout their careers, so why is this not in career mode? I don't know. The next thing is to train a player to change their work rates. I hate it when you get a young player from your youth academy and they've got low work rates or low attacking, high defensive for a striker. I get it, it's randomized, it happens, let us change it. Whether we edit using the edit feature, which I'll talk about in a moment, or you let us actually train it, which is more realistic. And the last thing for training mode, and there's probably more by the way, so feel free to leave comments down below, but add custom training drills to improve specific stats of your choice. So we already somewhat have that. We're able to choose, dribbling, shooting, defending as generalized training drills. But I'm thinking I want to improve just strength. So let's have a weightlifting training drill. I want to improve agility. Let's do an assault course. Just specific stats, not always group of 3 and 4. Because whilst that's great, I think that's part of the problem. We're improving our players too quickly. We should be able to train singular stats. I would love to be able to take a player that's got really poor stamina and just increase stamina really quickly over a few weeks. They can of course limit it. They can make it so you can only do it a certain amount of times. That there's a limit. A player can only get up to a certain amount. They can only go up by 10 in a specific stat. Things like that. I'm sure they can work it out. But training mode needs adjusting. Now, squad management. I've only got 1 point to make here, one improvement, but there are probably many more ideas that you guys can come up with as well. So again, tweet me, leave comments, whatever you want to do. But one thing that bothers me every time I do a career mode is the fact I can't release more than 2 players. It bothers me that if I get a youth player that I think is useless, his stats are bad, or he's got 1-star weak foot, 1-star skills, you know that feeling. I want to just release them. just let me release as many players as I want, within reason, of course. Your team has to have a certain amount of players at the club. You can't go below that certain threshold. But just let me release players. I don't care if I have to pay for it because you have to pay out their contracts, whatever. Just let me release more than 2 players. Even if you limit it to 5, that would be a massive improvement. Now, for the Youth Academy and Reserve Squad, this is a really cool idea, and this is what I hope eventually makes it into career mode. So I want a separate squad from my first team. I want a Youth or Reserve Squad. I don't know why everything has to be all in one squad. Most teams don't do it that way, especially in other games as well. Like Football Manager, you have different squads for your reserve players and your first team players. And I want the ability to call up and drop players from each squad as and when I please. I want a youth squad full of under 20 players that I can just pick and choose from when I want to, call them up to the main squad. Within reason, I think, again, they can adjust it their way. But it bothers me that you get some squad players that you know you're just not going to use in the first team, and they just sit at the bottom of your club in the reserves getting dusty. I know that doesn't make sense, but you know what I mean. We should have separate squads, a main team and a sub team, or a reserve team. That would be really neat. Loaning players, I don't do it too much, but when I do it, it's not a very good system. It's very broken right now when it comes to loaning out players as well, especially if you're at a big club where your players are on high wages. It's almost impossible to sell or loan young players unless you ask the team to cover only half his wages or whatever it may be. But what I'm asking for now is when I loan in a player, I only want to pay half his wages. Why do I have to pay full wages every time I loan a player, but other teams don't? That doesn't make sense. So allow us to inquire for a player to loan him for a season at half his wages. I think it makes sense. Why not? It happens the other way around, so why can't it happen the other way around? Also, the ability to loan players for just 1 month. When you get a nasty injury or you're just short in a certain position, you just want to loan a player for a month instead of a whole season, let us do 1 month. I think you can do 6 months, which is okay, but still it's a lot of money for lesser clubs to be loaning a player for 6 months. Their wages can be high. So let us do it for an emergency loan, 1 month, 30 days, whatever it has to be. I would love that. Now this one I feel like I talk about way too often. It's the transfer system. Now they've definitely improved it with FIFA 18. You know, the ability to actually do the contract negotiations in person, although there was no talking, it was just music. I get that was very difficult. And, you know, all the contract negotiations and, you know, just certain things to do with transfers, they have improved it, but there's still room for more improvement, especially when it comes to seeing other teams making signings. You see the top deals of this window and you see the same players being sold all the time, the same players moving to the same teams every single career mode that you do. So there has to be more variety in transfers made by the CPU controlled clubs. It's definitely better than it used to be. Who remembers when Alaba would go to Juventus constantly? Harry Kane would go to Manchester United. Manchester United would sign 3 or 4 world-class strikers every single career mode. It's a little bit better, but it is still a problem. Also, I would like to enable the CPU teams to offer you player swaps and player plus cash deals. Why is this not a thing? Why do I never get approached by a club saying, we want your striker, we'll give you our striker, let's do a swap? You know, and if they're worth a similar amount of money or their abilities about right, or you just want that player and an easy swap deal makes sense, you should just be able to do that. And also, I want to be offered a player plus a bit of money for one of my players, because I can do that to them. I can offer player plus cash. Why can't the CPU? It really bothers me. As you can tell, there's a few things in this game where you can do something but they can't do it back. They can do something but you can't do it back. Just enable it for everyone and we'll all be happy. I mentioned with the transfer system that they've slightly improved it. They definitely improved the contract system as well. I love being able to, you know, buy players with a release clause. I liked being able to add a release clause, although that didn't seem very helpful after a little while. But again, there's room for improvement. I think we should be able to add buyback clauses as well. If you're selling a player because you need the cash right now, but you're a little bit worried that in a few seasons you want him back, or just in general you're worried that you're selling a player because you feel like it now but you might regret it, you should be able to then approach that player, or that club, sorry, and buy him back. It happens a lot in real world football. A lot of players move to a different team but they have buyback clauses in their contracts, meaning they can just buy that player back for a certain price. Maybe make it quite high risk, that buyback clauses have to be quite expensive to make room for growth. I don't know, but it would be nice to have that in the game. The other thing as well is to add options such as promotion and trophy bonuses into contracts. So in my Wolves career mode, maybe there should have been some bonuses for players in their contracts where if we were to get promoted to the Premier League, they would get a bit of money. It's realism. It might not necessarily help you with your transfer budget. You'll end up spending more money. But we just want realism. We want this to be total club management. And it isn't. Just a simple thing like bonuses in their contracts that aren't just goals and clean sheets or appearances. They've already got the system in place. Just add a few little things like promotion and trophies. Winning the FA Cup, you gain this amount of money. Winning the Champions League will give you this amount of money on top of your salary, just because it'd be cool and realistic. Now, I know this is quite a controversial topic, simulating games. I've been known to simulate quite a few games in my career mode. Plenty of other YouTubers do it as well. And there's also YouTubers or certain series, like for me, the Wolves career mode started off the first 2 or 3 seasons, I didn't simulate a single game. It's a choice thing. I get that. Some YouTubers think it speeds things up, it keeps the series flowing, which I tend to agree with. But I think the viewers themselves don't enjoy simulation because it's one click of a button and there's no skill involved. So why not improve the simulation? Because it was better. It was better many, many years ago. There was the opportunity where you could be simulating into the second half, pause it and jump into the game if you were losing. Now, I guess you could say you could technically abuse the system a little bit, but it's an offline game mode. It doesn't affect anyone else. It doesn't really matter, but give people the choice. But, you know, the first thing I mentioned is the first 2 points. You know, being able to pause the simulation, make tactical changes and substitutions yourself, pause and play the rest of the match yourself, as featured in some other older FIFA titles. I mean, it was in the game. I remember being able to simulate as much of the game as I wanted and quite literally pausing it and then playing the rest of the game. I don't know where it's gone. But most importantly, if they don't include those 2 features I've talked about, being able to pause it, make subs, or play the rest of the game, they have to include more stats. Even showing the possession of the game would be quite cool. How is it just literally press one button and it sims the entire game? Even if you go through it minute by minute, all it does is shows you key facts like yellow cards, goals. There's no information about the game, how your team played, who even got the assists. So why not give us a bit more in-game stats, such as possession and shots, as you can see at the bottom there. And also the one above, better teams should get more realistic results when simulating away matches. So it feels like in FIFA, when you simulate an away game, no matter who you are, it's very, very unlikely that you're going to get a win. It feels like that, I guess, because the game sees it as an away fixture and therefore the advantage should be for the home team. But it should take into account who the away team is. If Barcelona goes away to Tranmere Rovers, they're going to win that game most likely, yet in FIFA they'll lose 3-0. Okay? It doesn't make sense. They need to adjust that slightly. But most importantly, give us more stats and the ability to do more when simulating, to actually manage the team. After all, this is career mode and you're the manager. Moving on into staff management. Not a big deal, but it's something else I would like to see in the game. If you see you're getting a lot of injuries or your players are constantly tired and not fit enough, you should be able to hire certain staff to improve your club in that regard. I want a better staff for my injuries, then you should be able to hire someone that's got a better reputation or better skill set. It makes sense. Why isn't this in the game already? You should be able to improve your club with better staff. It's not just better players. Don't forget that's all you can do in career mode. All you can do is effectively improve your squad, but you can't do anything outside of that. You've got no control of your injuries and, you know, the way that your players train, really, except from the training mode. I want to hire staff. I want to be able to say, this player is getting injured a lot. He's always tired. Let's improve his I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? The rehab. You know, when he does get injured next time, let's slow down the process. Let's get him in a little bit later, but make sure he doesn't get injured again. Player interaction. I want to be able to approach players that request to leave and discuss it with them. I'm fed up with players coming up to me saying, I don't feel comfortable here. I want to be sold in the next transfer window. And it always happens after the window shuts, by the way. What is with that? Okay? It's quite handy, but it's annoying that it's obviously stupid and not realistic. But when a player decides to leave in real life or wants to leave, they will, of course, discuss it with the manager. You're not just going to go into his office and go, I'm leaving, thanks. You're going to talk it through. You're going to see if there's any way you can stay, get a better contract, or, you know, have a civil discussion and say, okay, fair enough, you need to leave, let's sell you, but let us find a replacement first. I want to have a proper conversation with the player, not just delete the email and just hope that he stays, right? Makes sense. The next thing as well, team talks. There's no proper team talk in this game. Of course, you can do the pre-match interview type thing where you can praise the team or whatever. It's a load of crap. Let me do a team talk before and after games. It's great in Football Manager. You can increase the morale of your team. I want to be able to praise the entire team for a really good win or show disappointment when we've lost. But I don't just want to talk to the players. I want to talk to the media as well. A huge part of football these days is dealing with the media. The interviews after the game, before the game, the rumour mills. It's a huge part of a manager's role. They have to deal with the media, and there's none of that. It's pretty disappointing, to be honest. So why not have more options when speaking to the media, including multiple choice questions and answers? I want them to come at me with a question, and I have to choose a response. I know it's a lot of work. It probably will never happen, but that would be really nice. And also, I want reporters to bring up rumours and stories for you to discuss in match conferences. Maybe a player was out drinking late and he returned to training late, or, you know, maybe you had to fine a player and they ask why. Just things to make your career mode feel a little bit more on edge, and little random things that can appear, not just injuries. Oh, your striker's out for 9 months. Oh, I want to have rumours propping up and my board, you know, putting pressure on me to make sure that this doesn't, you know, give us a bad reputation as a club. You know, I want to talk to the media and try and salvage reputation, or of course make things better if we're in a bad situation. It would just make it a lot more realistic. Now, this one's not a massive deal, but if you didn't already know, you can go in the catalogue on FIFA and buy the edit mode. It's like a little box that you can then go into in your career mode, and you can edit your players' boots, their kits and stuff like that. You can't edit stats, or once you've started the career mode, that's it. There's no changes to the stats or the player's hair or whatever. All you can do is adjust the way their kit sits on them, whether it's tight, long arms, short arms, different boots, different length of socks, armbands and stuff like that. It really doesn't matter. It's just cosmetic stuff. But I think they can do a lot more for us YouTubers to be more creative with our career mode series. You know, being able to edit players, although it sounds like you're cheating, it could make for really good ideas. We could do so much more. We could say, you know, if we lose a game, we lose ratings, or you can manually adjust players' positions instead of having to train them. And, you know, there's just a lot more freedom for us creators, and also for people that just want to play and have fun. And who remembers playing career mode with 99 rated players? I get that you can do it before the career mode starts. You know, when you customize your team beforehand and then load into the career mode with current customized squads. I just want to be able to do it in the career mode, so I don't have to constantly update the squads in the game, you know? I want to be able to adjust work rates and skill moves and weak foot and things like that, so if you do get any youth academy players that just suck, then you can just change it. Obviously, it could be abused so badly for YouTubers, so that's why this isn't really a massive deal to me, but I thought I'd mention it anyway. And most importantly, I want to be able to change the appearance of players. I'm fed up with Mo Salah in game looking 2 years younger than he does now because of the haircuts and, you know, whatever. You should be able to just adjust the haircut. You know, David Silva, I had to play with David Silva's long hair for months until they finally updated it to be bald. Why couldn't I just go make him bald? You know, just go through the haircuts. It doesn't make sense. I know their face is a real picture almost, and you can't adjust that. That's fine, but let me adjust their haircut or add a beard. It doesn't really matter, does it? Now, how this is still a problem, I don't know, but fixture list problems have been going on since I can remember. Very frustrating when you've got a lot of games in a short time, your team can't recover, you get more injuries. It's just stupid because in real life, I mean, they postpone games all the time. And if a fixture is, you know, too soon, too late, or it's in line with another big game, they move things around. So I get it's kind of hard to program that into the game, so why not let us manually choose when we play certain games? If 2 matches come up next to each other, we should be able to highlight one of the games and just move it. It shouldn't be too hard to do that. You should only have a select amount of time that you can move it, maybe just a day or 2, just so we can avoid those 2 games in 2 days. Those scenarios just suck, they really do. Or if you can't move it manually like I've put in the second point there, but the top point, and that's just to ask to move it, and then the engine can decide for you, maybe move it a month. I know with some games it can't happen, like the FA Cup final, But that's not really the issue. It's when you have the Christmas period coming up with a lot of cup games and your domestic league games. That's when it bunches up and you get a lot of matches. So maybe make it so you can only adjust domestic league games and not competitions like the Champions League, international games, things like that. Now, some people haven't even probably noticed this, but they've removed a massive feature from last year to this year, and that is requesting more money from your board. There's physically no way to get extra money in your career mode unless you buy the takeover, which of course is ridiculous. There are so many clubs in real world football that struggle at a certain time in the season, and they'll get an injection of cash from their board to try and save the season, to stop them from getting relegated. Often happens in the January transfer window. In career mode, we've always been able to go to the board and say, hi, I need some money. I will promise you to win this, win that, finish second here, whatever. It's gone. They've removed it. So I thought, what's a good way around it if they don't want that feature? And that could be sponsorships. They can be fake. They can be real sponsorships. I don't care. I just want to sign a deal with a company that offers me 6 million per season, and I do something for them in return. You know, I put some branding on the banners, whatever. Just do some sort of sponsorship system. They can be completely fake. It can be Adidas. It can be Nike instead of Nike. Okay, anything. Just let me somehow get more money when I need it without having to use the takeover. That brings me on to my next point and next category very nicely indeed. So club finance. I want the ability to adjust ticket prices. That's been in FIFA before. I want to be able to make more money at home games and less in away games, or whatever I want to do really, just to adjust how much money I'm making per game. The ability to add ticket sales and sponsorship funds into your club budget. It's very frustrating that you see your clubs earning this money in the transfer funds area, but you can't do anything about it. It doesn't go into your budget. Very stupid, really. The board sometimes offers you extra money if the team is struggling, kind of like what I said before. It was already in the game, although you had to request it. I think you should get an email if you're in the relegation zone from your board saying, look, we're really worried you're going to get relegated. Here's a bit of money. Why not? Why can't that be in the game? And also, this is a big thing. I want a more realistic prize money award for lower league clubs. Getting promoted from League 1 to the Championship, you get like 2 mil. What is that? If you get promoted from the Championship to the Premier League in real life, you quite literally get over £100 million. But in FIFA, you get 5. Now, I get it's probably down to, you know, you don't want to then be able to afford every player as soon as you get promoted to the Premier League. Of course not. But it won't be a problem if you just adjust it better. Just make it slightly better, because at the moment it's a travesty. It's quite embarrassing actually when you do so well with the team and you get nothing for it. And now for my final category, and that is manager creation. Now they've added in the ability to kind of pick from a couple of managers by default. You can kind of choose which one you want to be. There's a couple of them. They're rendered in HD, although I still think they look terrible. They're all jagged. Their suits look crap. It's just a joke that this is a club management game mode where you're the manager and you can't even create your own manager. How backwards is that? It's going to be 2019 next year and we can't even create our own manager. This has to be in the game. At some point we need to be able to create a manager, choose the height, the weight, their hair colour, their face, their eye colour, or even scan our own face like we used to be able to do in pro clubs, for example. I still think you can, by the way. They have this feature somewhere. At least it was in the last 2 FIFAs, I think. You would literally go on the website and take a picture of your face, and you could import it into the game. Why isn't this in the game now? The system was there. Let us change the manager more. Even if we're keeping this system where you have to pick a default manager, can we at least change their clothes a little bit? Instead of just picking between tracksuit, suit, and then suit without a jacket. Look, what is that, EA? It's so bad. I want to adjust our management creation a little bit. I want to be able to choose a little bit more options. That would be really nice. But for now, guys, that is going to be the end of this video. I will leave it on one last thing, and that's something I talk about every year as well. But there's quite literally no point talking about it. EA don't listen. They don't care about this. Online career mode. Everyone wants it. Everyone knows it would inject life into career mode. Being able to invite your friends, play seasons with them. You know, maybe there's some difficult bridges to fix there where you can have everyone playing a certain team. And I don't know how it would work, but there is a way to make it work. Other games have it. There must be a way to play career mode with a friend or two. Hell, even let me invite 19 other people and do a Premier League season with them. We can schedule the games ourselves if we have to. I just want online career mode. It's not going to happen. I'm mentioning it because otherwise people will mention it in the comments. Why didn't you talk about it? Well, I'll tell you something, guys. I know a couple of people at EA. I've been to the capture events. I've met a few of the people. I email this video, but in a list form. I have a Google document with all of these wishlist features from over the years. I email it to them every single Christmas time. When there's time from... Obviously, you're not going to email it to them within the first 3 months of the new game. So I leave it a little bit. I email it to them. I've had a few responses back like, great, thank you for the input. Nothing happens. So I'm officially giving up on online career mode. I don't think it's ever going to happen unless they make career mode pay to play. I know that sounds horrible, but if they made it somehow possible to make them a bit of cash on the side, then maybe, just maybe, but with career mode making them zero money, it's not going to happen, unfortunately, because it costs a lot of time and resources to get something like an online career mode going. It would be hugely popular. I would pay for it. I know millions of people would pay for it. Even if it was a monthly subscription thing, I would pay for online career mode. Can you imagine how good that would be? Especially for YouTubers. Imagine me, Channy and Ches doing a joint Premier League or Bundesliga season. It'd be great fun. So hopefully that is something that will happen one day. I just doubt it. But thank you for watching, guys. I know I went on a little bit. I'm very passionate when it comes to these wish lists. I've barely played career mode over the last few weeks, as you know. I'm bored to death with it. This is make or break for me. Otherwise, I don't know what us YouTubers are going to do that love career mode. It will be Ultimate Team. It will have to be, or other things, because it's just so boring after a few months, after a few weeks. Anyway, make sure you're subscribed, guys. Make sure you click on the bell as well to get notified when I upload. And I will see you next time.